From the classroom to the range. Is this protection or is this totally insane? Let's talk on the mic. Hello, hello, good people. This is your guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker, coming back at you live once again from the Lone Star State with another edition of the Media Mike Speaks. All right, good people, it is 21 minutes past the hour, and yes, we're the voice of the everyday citizen. All right, good people, I'm pretty sure you've heard about this in the news. Should teachers be armed? Well, we're going to talk about this. Now, I do know in the great old state of Texas, the Lone Star State, which where I reside, some teachers are armed. They're called school marshals. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some comments of what people think about this. Now, let's get to the story. Two state legislators are considering measures that would permit teachers and other school staff to carry arms in the aftermath of the Texas elementary school shooting that killed 19 children last month. Despite opposition from gun safety advocates, teachers groups, and school security experts. Now, here's the thing. They're going to talk about conservative talking points in circles. Like Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, a Republican, said in an interview on Fox News on the day of the Uvalde school shooting that the state, which already allows teachers to be armed, as I stated, should go further to ensure school employees have firearms. Okay, he goes on to quote, "We can't stop bad people from doing bad things," he said. "We can potentially arm and prepare and train teachers and other administrators to respond quickly because the reality is that we don't have the resources to have law enforcement at every school," unquote. Then you need to get the resources, Mr. Attorney General. We're talking about arming the majority of our teachers. I don't think they went to school to do that. They didn't go to school to play teacher slash cop. Anyway, at least 28 states, including Texas, currently allow teachers or school staff to be armed in the classroom under varying conditions, according to a 2020 RAND Corporation study. It is unclear how effective that has been at undermining a school shooting threat, and critics note research that shows that adding firearms to a situation only increases the risk of gun violence. I would tend to agree. I would. Now, it goes on to say that the bills are about a distraction. It's about empty rhetoric and distraction. They're not about solutions. Now, Rob Wilcox, federal legal director at Everytown for Gun Safety, he says if you were to introduce guns into schools, not only is it ineffective, but you're introducing more risk. How will the guns be stored? Good question. How will folks be trained? Good question. When will guns be used? Good question. How do you ensure kids won't get access to them? Good question. How do you ensure a gun isn't used in a tense situation at school? Good question. They're all critical questions about this type of legislation that never gets answered, unquote. Okay, yeah. Now, the good thing here, um, Texas is not the only state. 28 other states, and now Ohio and Louisiana is looking at doing this. But school security experts also share frustration that many of these programs provide limited training as a cost-saving measure for security, as it appeared to show a lack of commitment to safety. Now, Ohio and Louisiana, which is where I'm from, the bill headed to Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's desk. I'm from Louisiana, not Ohio. So anyway, from the state Republican-controlled legislature would lessen the threshold for carrying weapons. Now, in Ohio, DeWine said in a statement that he called on the Ohio General Assembly last week to pass the bill that would allow school districts to designate armed staff for school security and safety. He said he looked forward to signing this important legislation, unquote. Okay, wow. He goes on to say the measure to arm teachers is heading to the governor's desk as Ohio also prepares in 2 weeks to formally lift the requirement that gun owners have a concealed carry license as the state's constitution's carry law goes into effect. Now, in Louisiana, State Senator Eddie Lambert, a pro gun Republican, amended a controversial gun bill passed by the State House on Wednesday, stripping the legislation of a measure that would allow permitless concealed carry. To pursue a similar idea, he goes on to say, because it is too late to introduce new bills into the legislative session, which ended Monday, his changes would delete the original concept of permitless concealed carry. In place of the old language, he added text that would give school districts the authority to designate school administrators or teachers who could carry a gun and serve as school protection officers. Really? After they took a training course and obtained a permit that allowed them to carry weapons in schools. He said they would receive training similar to that provided to police officers. He goes on to quote, "You don't want anybody who is not fully trained in this situation. This is not just for some Joe Blow," he said, adding that teachers would have to keep the concealed gun on them at all times and out of reach of children. Okay. Teachers are not enthusiastic about being armed. The question is, however, do teachers want to be armed in the classroom? That's the question. Now, as I stated, Texas is one of the states that has allowed teachers and other school employees to be armed, but it's not a particularly popular program either. Under its school marshal program, Texas has licensed certain school employees to carry a firearm since 2013. After an 80-hour course, a psychological exam, and a $35 fee, school staff members can be approved to pack heat in schools. But in 9 years, the state has only licensed 256 marshals in 62 of the state's 1,029 school districts, according to the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, called the T-Code. Now, educators and parents overwhelmingly reject the idea of arming school staff. I do agree. Rather than arming educators with guns, they go on to say we need to be giving them the tools needed to inspire their students. I do agree. And now, a few words from the comment section. One comment states, "This is going to end so poorly. Disgruntled staff will either shoot up the place or shoot someone who slights them. These teachers and school staff did not sign up to be cops." I said that even the cops have trouble using their weapons under pressure. Okay. Another comment says, "I wonder how many people will be accidentally shot and killed by deranged and burned out teachers as a result of this short-sighted legislation. I would bet the number of people killed and injured by the good teachers with a gun will be greater than any saved by this silliness." Okay. Another one says, "Here's the pre-proposed scenario. A grade school teacher trying to comfort a class of panic, frightened children and keep them safe by enacting rehearsed protocol is also going to be locked in a locked cabinet, unlock it, assess the situation, and aim their weapon. Meanwhile, law enforcement enters, sees a person brandishing a firearm, shoots the perceived perpetrator, the teacher, who was dressed like anybody else. How could I tell the difference? Makes perfect sense." Very good. Another one commenter says, "I don't think teachers should be carrying firearms at schools. The state should provide law enforcement or security services to protect the schools and students." Good point. Another commenter says, "Very few teachers want to carry firearms in school. This just passes the buck to teachers, allowing police and the government to say, 'It's not our fault. Blame the teachers for not doing their jobs,' unquote." That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, they could be trying to pass the buck. They could be. Well, anyway, good people, what do you think about arming the school, arming the teachers in public schools? Feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. Until next time, this is your guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker. Subscribe, share, and like to keep me rocking on the mic. Have a good night.
They'll understand you soon, it won't be long. Keep on, keep running.